My name is CCP Soundwave. I've been at CCP since April 2008. I'm in game design now, but previously spent time in QA. Right now I'm a product owner, which means that I do all kinds of administrative stuff for the development team I'm on. And our development team this time around is working on Planetary interaction. So I don't have as much like hands-on design work as much as I just read emails and read design pages and, you know, Facebook. Well, the game design team basically fleshes out the ideas we have for incoming expansion. So before we start expansion work, game design is told what they're going to be working on, and then they start fleshing out the actual mechanics for it. So when we're told we're doing Planetary interaction, we're basically fleshing out how that plays out. So we're taking like the long-term vision from the executive producer and the lead game designer and turning that into like real mechanics.
Hello, I'm Colin Finney, also known as CCP Chronotis. I'm a member of the game design team here for EVE Online. I've been working in game design now for over 3 years, and I'm mostly known for doing science and industry stuff, but I've dabbled and done a lot of other stuff as well. So currently I've been working in Planetary Interaction. I'm one of the 2 main teams of 4 assigned to Planetary Interaction, and we've focused on doing the scanning of resources, the resource distribution, and the production tree itself of how you make all the stuff you want to get from Planetary Interaction.
Well, game design has evolved over the years, probably mostly in the sense that it's grown. I mean, it's not a small department anymore. I think there's probably about 10 of us now, and we're looking to hire quite a few more, just because EVE is becoming so big. We're like a pretty big department now, and not just like 1 or 2 guys making stuff up. The way our process is and the way game design works is that we usually start out with some sort of subject, and we bring in different people of interest for brainstorming sessions. Once we've done a few of that, we harvest the ideas and try to see what we can use, and then we kind of come up with like a proposition that then goes through the product managers for approval, and if that's okay, then we start production and apply small changes to it, basically. But it's a very like collective effort. So I mean, you have not just game designers in the brainstorming. For example, you have people from marketing, from customer service, just basically people that you suspect would be good and could provide a lot of input, and then like mostly idea harvesting and fleshing features out, basically.
EVE has changed a whole lot over the years. We started off with a very, 6 years ago, it was a very basic gameplay. There was almost nothing there, and the complexity of the game was just increased massively. As they say now, the learning cliff is absolutely huge. We've added, tons of features over the years, and it's getting quite a complex game while we still maintain the original core of PvP in a sandbox. We want to be that lone wolf in a sandbox.
My name is Ian, also known as CCP Playanost. I'm one of the engineers on Team Pi. I primarily work on the back-end systems, so whenever you touch something in Planetary Interaction, it's my code that's actually moving commodities around and making processors process, making extractors extract. I've been with CCP for about 2 years now, and I've been with EVE the entire time. What my team does is handle the entire production side of Planetary Interaction. Our code governs the extractors, the processors, the storage pins, spaceports, and everything else that's actually on the planet. If you're extracting some microorganisms at an extractor and then routing those to a storage pin, we're making sure that that extractor actually has some microorganisms to extract in the area, and making sure that the storage pin can hold them. Likewise, if you're processing things into water at a production pin, we're ensuring that you have the right amount of inputs at the production pin and that the output can actually flow somewhere.
Planetary Interaction is a small casual game that you can play on the side. It's basically going to be like a filler that you can kind of do anytime you want. It's not something that you have to like dedicate endless amount of time to. You can manage your colonies while away from it, for example. So you can be sitting on a gate, camping a gate, and at the same time just managing your colony on the side. It's basically going to be like an integral part of production, but it's not going to be as attention heavy as if you go into mining, for example, if you go into manufacturing. This is basically like a small thing you can do on the side. You don't need to log on more than like a few minutes every day. It's going to be like a great supplement to EVE's industrial gameplay.
EVE needs Planetary Interaction because one of the hardest things we have right now is what you can do with defined play sessions and what you can do at the same time as doing something else. Like for instance, mining is a very sort of relaxed gameplay mechanic. Along the same lines, Planetary interaction is designed so you can interact with it at a very slow pace, and you don't need to like be Twitch playing. And so you can just play it while doing something else on the side. You can be browsing the market, you can be flying around in space, holding stuff in your freighter, or waiting for a poor unsuspecting noob to jump through into your gate camp. And it's really one of the hardest things to find is what to do with your time. And this is one of the things where it's a very accessible game mechanic. Anyone can do it. You don't need any sort of a huge amount of time investment, and I think that's really critical. And we have a lot of stuff in the economy that all we do right now is the NPCs sell it, and it'd be really cool if the players could build it themselves.
PI was really difficult. I think when I read the forums and talk to players, I think they underestimate just how big a change it is. When we did Solve, for example, or we do new ships, where we're kind of like changing the existing systems. And PI we basically build from scratch. Like everything from the resource finding to the pins you put down, to like structuring the production chain. Pretty much everything is built from scratch, and that's a pretty big challenge. In fact, I'd say that with PI being built from scratch and us getting EveGate this release as well, is probably like the biggest content expansion we've done for quite a while. It's possibly bigger than Apocrypha. Well, it benefits. I mean, for me, the big thing was taking the NPC commodities out of the market and giving them to the players. I mean, I'm fundamentally against having anything sold by NPCs on the market. I think it should be an organic world where players run the economy entirely. And I think the price changes on pause fuel and all the end rewards basically are going to be like the biggest impact on Eve. But I mean, it's a fun little side game that everyone should like enjoy and cherish and be the favorite thing.
When an expansion starts out, what I usually do is I sit very close to the designers and I listen to their designs and try and vet them from a technical perspective. So if something would be too heavy on the cluster or too difficult to implement in the time frame that we're given, it's my responsibility to help bring the designers back down to earth. They often have some really, really great ideas that are really amazing but would take 2 years to implement, or would absolutely kill TQ if we ended up coding it. Personally, my favorite feature on Planetary Interaction is the construction of the networks themselves. I've gone onto Singularity, and I've seen some very, very creative uses of links and storage pins to achieve really incredibly efficient structures in terms of production. Players are really figuring out already how to build extremely efficient machines of industry, and that's what I find the most interesting.
CCP are going to develop this feature further. We've kind of taken the approach that iterating and building on the features we launch is the way to go forward, and Planetary Interaction is one of those features that we're going to be doing that with. So basically one of the primary teams is going to keep working on it and improving it.
The benefits of working on a feature from multiple releases is obviously that you get to iterate on everything. You're not tied down by the deadlines we have currently, which mean that we have to scope kind of very aggressively. Most of our features was one of the hardest parts as a designer, is how to scope the feature to fit within the release window you have, and and still deliver the core goals of what you wanted in the first place, and be able to follow that on through different releases and iterate and evolve the feature is really amazing.
So, in terms of our team, being able to work on Planetary Interaction for multiple releases is really going to let us respond to user feedback. One of the things that we've been doing, particularly our QA department, has been combing through the feedback on the test server forums and forwarding that to game design, especially in terms of the user interface. We've made a number of changes to the routing user interface and in terms of the construction mode user interface, just based on user feedback over the past 4 or 5 weeks. Going forward, we're looking to expand the feature organically by looking at what would be fun for the user that we can just simply add into the system without disrupting the whole thing and without re-architecting the entire feature from a design standpoint. Personally, I find the most fun part of my job is solving the problems related to bringing new game features to Eve. For example, in Planetary Interaction, you have a very large, very asynchronous system. Players can have upwards of 20 or 30 pins, and these are all running more or less continuously. How can we have that happening for 300,000 players at once? That's an immense technical challenge, and that's what was my favorite part of PI, was coming up with an architecture to to make that scalable so that everyone could enjoy PI at their own pace, and also to give the designers the flexibility they needed to make it fun for as many different people as possible.
The inspiration for Planetary Interaction probably comes from getting the entire like sci-fi simulator thing going. We want like the entire universe to be real and for players to be able to interact with everything and play with planets, walk around in stations, like basically do whatever you envision like a pod pilot would do, like what we do in the universe. I mean, obviously you want to land at stations, obviously you want to walk around on planets, you want to run your factories. It's basically just part of creating that like big sci-fi simulator. The team is really excited to be working on it. I mean, it's always fun to get something that you build from scratch and something that people have done, like haven't done before, you know? It's like you're part of creating something new instead of just like same old putting some ships together and whatever, you know. It's a fun feature and it's cool. It's so cool. So cool it's made of ice and it hurts when you touch it.